So there I was, minding my own business, trying to create a beginner lighting tutorial for Blender, and I was trying to figure out how I could make the outside of the window different from everything that was around the window. And I embarked on this many-hour journey to try to figure out how to do that. And what I landed on was using Cryptomattes. So for those of you who don't know, Cryptomattes are a way to kind of block out and mask different parts of your scene based on objects, materials, and assets. Now, you can do this with render layers as well, but Cryptomattes gives you more power over render layers. But when I looked at the different, and you can of course see that here, that's what I'm showing, that the actual background of the window is different from what's in the inside, and I used Cryptomattes to do that. If you want to know exactly how I did that, leave me a comment. I'll do a tutorial on it. But I did want to cover what I thought was the main difference between what I was seeing in the older tutorials and what I was seeing in the new tutorials. So in Blender 3.41, the setup for Cryptomattes is different. So first of all, if you want to use a Cryptomatte, all you need to do is go to the render layers, and under render layers, you click object, material, and or asset. In my case, I wanted to block out things based on object and material, so that's all I clicked there. Now, in order to actually see after you render, so this is the actual render. So right now, I'm just going to connect this to the viewer. So this is the actual render layer, and this is the viewer. So I wanted what was in this window to be different than what was around the scene. So you can see around the scene, there's nothing, but I wanted what's in the window to be different. So I needed to change, I needed to mask out the window and then do a different render layer later for what was behind it. So in order to do that, I needed these Cryptomattes. I needed a Cryptomatte in order to mask out that layer. So previously, in order to do that, one had to connect these three nodes. Like if you wanted to objects, you had to connect these three nodes to a Cryptomatte node that also had three nodes. So in recent versions, you don't have to do that. Now, in order to get this Cryptomatte, you do search, add, and you search for Cryptomattes, and you can select it there. I'm sure you don't do that if you're asking about something as esoteric as Cryptomattes. So anyway, so you have the Cryptomatte, and then, so what they said then in the newer tutorials is you need to connect image to image, and boom, that would give you access to Cryptomatte. So I'm going to actually connect my image of my Cryptomatte to the viewer so you can see. And you can see without it being connected, I'm already getting the mask that I wanted. It turns out that if I connect the image here, the image in my render layer to the image in my Cryptomatte, it'll show me what's coming through in this image mask. But in most cases, you don't really care about that, right? You want the matte here because that's what you're going to use to actually block out different parts of your scene. And here's the interesting thing. If I cut the link to this, it doesn't matter. I get the same thing, right? And if I go to pick here, I get the entire scene. I get all of that without actually having to connect it. So whether you connect it or not is not really the important part here. What I neglected to remember, and I think they maybe even mentioned this without mentioning the fact that these don't need to be connected. The important part is after you have seen under that, you need to select the render layer here. Right, so right now I care about this window render layer. I have other render layers. I connect the window render layer crypto object, and this gives me access to the objects in that particular render layer. Now I can pick any other render layer here. I can pick, for instance, I can pick outer crypto object, and if we go to the picker, let's see, if we go to the picker, hopefully you will see something different. Oh, right. I didn't actually render that, so you can't tell. But you would have seen something different had I actually done the render. I don't want to waste your time here. But the important thing is that you select the render layer you want here. And in this case, I want the window and I want object. And the matte and the pick will work the same regardless if it's connected. The important thing is that you select it here. Now, something also interesting that I was able to do, because I wanted to do, in order to block out this section, I had to actually use an object that blocks it out. And in some of the render layers, I had to hold it out. In other render layers, I had to actually not render it. I had to do a whole bunch of weird things with it. So in order to do that, I needed to save the matte, right? This matte here. So it turns out that you can connect this to a file output, right? And the file output allows you to connect the matte to the image, and I saved it as a PNG here. And that allows you to be able to use it later without it actually being in a render layer. So here is where I saved all of those images. And if I connect this to the viewer, actually, yeah, if I connect this to the viewer, you see that it gives me that same thing. So this is what gave me the freedom to create that effect of having the outside be different from the inside. Also, side note, I saved this as a PNG. It's probably not the best format. I read somewhere that the OpenXR format doesn't have compression and you get a better result. After seeing this, I definitely believe that. But anyway, you can save your mattes to a series of files, a sequence of images, and then you can use them like that. But the important thing to remember is that you need to select the object or material and then the render layer. That's it. That allows you to do something like I'm doing here. If you would like to see a tutorial on that, I'd be glad to make it. Just leave me a comment. If you would like my Blender Speed Key cheat sheet, that is in the description, or you just want to become a part of our Blender family here and get ready for some of the live project classes we're going to do, go ahead and sign up, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.